everyone, how are you doing? I hope everyone is doing good. So welcome to another video of Origin and Evolution of Life. In the previous video, we were talking about modern synthetic theory of evolution. We have completed that. Now we move on to the another aspect of the topic, that is we were discussing modern synthetic theory. In that we also discussed natural selection. Okay, in the previous video also we have discussed natural selection in a very much detail. Now there is another angle to the natural selection, that is mechanism of the natural selection, which are divided into three types that we will be seeing in a short while. Okay, so we will see the three types of natural selection in this video, and we will cover one small topic, which is Hardy-Weinberg's principle, which helps us understand the modern synthetic theory of evolution. So let's begin directly. Uh, there are three types of natural selection that can take place. Okay, it's the continuation of the same topic that regarding the Darwin's. We began with the Darwin's theory of natural selection, and we saw various aspects of it, the factors, the characteristics, then examples. Okay, and how it can lead to changes in the genetic variation, which is also an underlying factor of modern synthetic theory of evolution. So now we move to three types of natural selection that is possible in any given population. Number one is the stabilizing selection. Now, what do we mean by stabilizing selection? Basically, stabilizing selection is talking about selective pressures, or when extreme phenotypes are eliminated and the normal, you can say the normal or the most favorable is phenotype is favored. The most favorable phenotype is favored. Okay. Yeah. So when extreme phenotypes are naturally eliminated by the nature, okay, it is not selected, you can say, and the most favorable phenotype is favored by the environment. So, for example, you can just take an example: very small newborn babies or very large newborn babies, they are less likely to survive. They do not have high chances of survival. They die, very early, as compared to a normal baby who is having an average weight or an intermediate weight, you can say. Okay, so this is the example you can take for understanding. Another example that I can mention is, for example, in a plant ecosystem, the plants that are very, very tall. Okay, very tall. If a plant is very tall, what very tall? So what will happen to this plant over a period of time? What are the chances of risk that they are exposed to? More wind. Okay, more wind can take away these tall plants, and then they can just fall off. Okay, and on the another part, you can take very, very short plants, very, very short plants. What are the risk factors? They will not get proper sunlight. This is, I'm talking about in a plant ecosystem, let's say in a forest, or in a in a natural setup, not in artificial setup. So too tall, they might be affected by high wind velocity and risk of getting blown away. Too short, more amount of sunlight or adequate amount of sunlight is not possible to reach. So that is why, the plants that are short, they fail to get enough sunlight to prosper, to reproduce. So therefore the plants that are of the middle height, the plants that are of the average middle height, not too tall, not too short, they have a greater life expectancy, right? Between the two, they have protection from wind also, and they get enough sunlight also, so their population increases. So naturally selected by the nature. So stabilized selection. Yes, stabilized selection. So the graph will look like this. Something in between. Okay. Peaks get higher and narrower like that. Just to give you an understanding. Then next is directional selection. Now, what is this directional selection talking about? When individuals of one extreme are favored. So, slightly opposite to stabilizing selection. Stabilizing selection is like one is at one type of population at one extreme, another type of population at another extreme. But natural stabilizing selection favors something in between, okay, which is having middle, let's say the intermediate weight or the intermediate height of the plants. But directional, the word itself is telling you it will favor one extreme. Let's say out of A and B, it will favor A. Okay, so the curve, this graph will shift towards one direction. Either if it is favoring towards one character, then or to another character, so it will shift accordingly. So distribution curve shifts into that direction, whichever direction is favored. To the directional selection, individuals of one extreme are more favored, valued than the other. Example you can take of, let's say, giraffe. So giraffe with longer necks are able to reach more leaves. Yes or no? Giraffes with longer neck, they will have access to more leaves because mostly the plants are of, they are of middle height, or they are taller like that. Selective pressures will work in their advantage. Whereas the if giraffe, their white, you can just assume an example of giraffe which are dwarf, or have comparatively lesser, sorry, shorter neck. So they might not have access to all the trees which are, trees are usually taller in sizes in their height. So they might not have access to the leaves, all the leaves of all the tall plants. So this is what we understand by directional selection. Okay. And then destructive selection. When extreme phenotypes are favored and can lead to more than one distinct form. More than one distinct form. And then this can lead to multiple, more than one type of population to survive, reproduce, and compete. So destructive. Both are favored equally. Both different types are favored equally. So here, let's say A and B, we are talking about stabilizing, somewhere in between, directional, either A, either B. Destructors is both. When extreme phenotypes are favored and can lead to more than one distinct form. Nothing in between, but both the extremes are favored. Okay, so here that is why you see two peaks in the graph. Now I'll give you an example. For example, there is an area, okay, you have, let's say, black rabbits, white rabbits, as well as you have gray rabbits. You have these three: black, white, and gray. Three types of rabbits in a particular area. Okay. Now, both the traits, which is white and black, right? White and black are very common. So they are favored by natural selection because they can camouflage with the environment. The intermediate one, which is gray, okay, they are actually not useful, and they might just stand out. So you have black and white, two extremes, and in between you have gray rabbits. So they are a traditional phenotypes, and they both of them are favored by nature for their survival, reproduction, and competition. But the gray ones, they are easy targets for the predators. So they might be left. So the nature is favoring, the natural selection is happening for black and white. So two different extreme phenotypes can lead to evolution of two different species in a particular area. So both the species will flourish at the same time. Fine. So the intermediate trait of the gray will not prove as useful, and therefore selection pressures act against the trait. Okay. So basically, this is not a common type of natural selection. Yes. So these are about the types of natural selection that can take place in a particular population. The most common type is the stabilizing type of selection. Okay. Now we move to the next part of the discussion, that is a short side topic supplementing the theory of evolution, that is Hardy-Weinberg principle. This is scientist Hardy and this is scientist Weinberg. Basically, what does this principle tell you? It is just a short principle that you need to know, and the conclusion or the significance of this principle. Definitely, there's more to this concept, but it is not required at your level now. Okay, so this principle says that allele frequency in a population are stable and is constant from generation to generation in the absence of disturbing factors. So it is more or less, supplementing or complementing whatever we have studied up till now. Whatever we have studied up till now, the gene flow, the changes in the allele frequency, the genetic recombination, genetic drift, number of genes in a gene pool, all that, they are telling that all the allele frequencies, that is the number of times an allele can occur in a particular population, are stable and is constant from one generation to the another to the another to the another, unless and until there is a disturbing factor. Disturbing factor can be anything, okay, like elimination of a particular allele due to sudden death, environmental factors, harsh environment, unfavorable environment, all these factors can be there. So disturbing factors, when when there is absence, when everything is normally going, so generation to generation, the the allele frequency will be stable and constant. So number of alleles in a particular population will be stable and constant, which is quite which is resonating with our common understanding also. Yes, whatever we have discussed up till now. So until unless any pressurizing factor is present, there will be no problem in the allele frequency in a population. Okay, so the gene pool will remain constant, and this they termed as genetic equilibrium, balanced out, stable, constant, balance. Okay, equilibrium, genetic equilibrium, or Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium. Okay, and the sum total of all the allele frequency, that is why will give you to 1 when everything is balanced out. So there will be no change, no geographic, there no migration took place, or no reproductive isolation, nothing like that. The population is interbreeding properly, and generations are coming after one generation. So the frequencies of the allele remain same and constant, which gives you the sum total of allelic frequency in that particular population to be 1. It is given by a formula. Yes, it is given by a formula. For example, in a diploid organism, P and Q are the frequencies of alleles A and A respectively. So for capital A, we know this, right? Let's say in a hybrid tall, capital T and small t, represented like capital T, small t. So here it is just like capital A, small a. Okay, hybrid variety. So for A, they have designated P, and sorry, small p, and for A, another small a, they have designated as small q. So let's say this is the allele frequency for capital A and small a respectively. So it is represented by a formula. So the frequency of A will be, so we consider in homozygous condition just like two tall plants, sorry, two tall plants we represent like this, two dwarf plants we represent it like this. The allele frequency will be what? 2, right? Whatever the alphabet, let's say the alphabet is P, so it will be P square. Here also the alphabet we chose is, let's say, Q, so it will be Q square. The same thing. Okay. Here the letter they have selected is A. Small a will be Q square. And hybrid will be what? Hybrid will be what? That is capital T into small t. So this is what? Small p and QP 2 times, right? 2 to pm. So this gives you the formula of a plus b the whole square, a plus b the whole square. Yeah. which when you expand a binomial expansion will give you p square plus 2p2 plus q square. So change of a frequency of allele in a population causes disturbance in genetic equilibrium. So if there is any change in this, then it will not be equal to 1. It will not be equal to 1. When everything is proper, normally balanced, then it will be equal to 1. So this change, and if there is any change, that will be due to evolution only. If there is any change, then that will be due to evolution only. Okay, so this is what Hardy-Weinberg principle tells us. You just have to need to know the principle in the definition form and the formula supporting it, and that's it. And what is its significance? That's it. Nothing much in detail. So that's all for this video. Keep revising. Make a note of whatever you have not understood, and you can reach out to me in case of any difficulty. Take care. See you. Bye bye in the next video.